board members haven't been there to see the project since it's been done, they routinely have, you know, events, cocktail parties, and different things going on there. Next time one comes up, you should get over, because it's really fabulous. They did a top-notch job with the place. It looks wonderful.
The owners of this are the same owners of the Trolley Barn, property back of the Trolley Barn in Grand Vista. They've not only marketed their own buildings, done a good job of that, they're uniting with the Collins projects, and they're getting all the tenants down there. Almost created downtown, almost a downtown tenants association, where they create all kinds of activities amongst the tenants in the different buildings. And it's creating more of a neighborhood feel down there, which is exactly what we were looking for. But they're good, you know, government shouldn't have to do that. That's not our job, and it's nice to see that they're doing it.
And they're good at doing it.
Yeah, they are. They're very good at doing it. I think they'll be among the better marketers of our downtown.
Yeah, they have been already. Absolutely.
They have a web-based product that all the tenants can talk to each other. So if somebody want to play basketball, and it actually is connected into Collins and everything else. They have a basketball court in the building, and it's really making it like a real small, very close-knit community. If you talk to some of the residents, they talk about how they're meeting people at the Collins building and 3 or 4 other buildings and never would have had the opportunity to do that.
So it's kind of a nice, it's good to have good quality development down there and that they're successful.
Sure, basketball and cocktails.
Cocktails should come afterwards, but
Depends how you play.
a couple of cocktails and all of a sudden you think you can play basketball. Like golf. Like golf, yes. If there are no other questions, can I have a motion to approve the resolution for Main Street Lofts? Made by Mike, seconded by Pete, all in favor?
Would Shelley abstain?
Okay, let the record show that Cecile has abstained. Everyone else in favor? Approved. Next we have the Collins 2. Collins 2 is of course the newest building that was built. That's on the north side of the sawmill outfall on the river. Sean?
This goes back obviously years, but it's built. They're doing a great job with the lease up, but it's kind of like the original project had. Remember, we had city land involved, so that usually has CDA involved. CDA then leased the property to the IDA, and then we sublease it to the company. That's the financial structure. That way, we protect the city's interest to make sure it gets built. And once they're at C of O, we can then have take CDA out of title. And so that's what this resolution is doing today. We're terminating that lease between CDA and the IDA, and then we're down to what's a normal IDA interaction, IDA and title and the company through the lease. Collins also, they took advantage of that project, wouldn't have gone. The mayor was very active pushing this brownfield cleanup program, and that allowed them to fund a lot of the activities. They're in line to receive their certificate of completion from DEC by the end of this month. That's why they're rushing to close this. It's one of the requirements. And that'll allow them to then qualify and get a refund check from the state of New York, which was always part of the financing plan. One last piece, it's not a concern of ours, but under the brownfield cleanup program, they've cleaned the site, and you have to agree to certain institutional controls when you clean a site like that. So there's an easement that's referred to in the resolution that's put on the property that's superior to all other rights. So we agree, and all other interests in the property agree, that if you dig dirt or something like that, you'll agree to the institutional controls. So that's the only unique thing, I think, in the resolution you haven't seen.
I heard there was some kind of problem with the state, with the Brownsfield, getting the finances from the state. Did they get all their money that they
Oh, no, this will allow them to get their money. The Brownfield Tax Credit Program is one that has been, its survival over the next 2 years has been in question for a while now. All of the New York Conference of Mayors have been pushing very hard. The New York State Brownfield Association has been pushing very hard to keep the program intact, because without it, a lot of the old contaminated land that would be suitable for terrific development won't happen. And the biggest problem with it, without this Brownfield Tax Credit Program, the biggest problem is the monies and obviously the liability. And that was covered under it. It was probably the best brownfield cleanup law in the United States. But as is always typical, it looks like Albany's tinkering with it to a point where if they do what has been suggested, it will make it unusable and ineffective. That's the controversy that's been going on up there. So far, it has survived intact. but I think it's hanging by a thread. They've been in the program, we're involved in it now for a couple of years, and this is the final stages before they can file for the monies that they spent already, for the reimbursement of monies under the brownfield program.
So they will get their refund.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're in line to get it.
Right.
Assuming everything falls into place, they will get it.
How does this look in the future for us along the riverfront?
Well, it just makes it that much harder for, what happens is the burden falls more on the city to provide whatever incentives are necessary to be able to allow people to build down there. The cleanup program is a terrific program. I think somebody recognized it up in Albany a long time ago, and that's why they enacted a law which said, let's not try and force people to clean up their land, let's give them an economic incentive to do so. And that's exactly what the brownfield program does. And the brownfields and legislation does. It gives them an economic incentive to develop that property, and as a result, the cleanup happens, rather than doing it with a stick. And all I did was drive people who own these properties away because they were afraid that once they started to dig, they were going to find more serious problems, and the end result would be they go under, because it happened to a lot of them. This was taking a very different business tack, and it is very successful. All I ever hear out of them, because I'm president of the New York State Brownfield Association, and all I ever hear out of the people in Albany is that look how much it's costing us in money that we're giving back in reimbursements. And the question we always ask, and we've never gotten an answer, which is, what has the state now seen as revenues generated from the projects that have been built because you gave away that money? Where's the balance? You only take one side of the ledger. What about the other side of the ledger? No one has ever come up with that number. And I think the reason they're not coming up with that number is because, number one, they don't want to do the work, and number two, they're probably going to find out that it was well worth the investment, that the return is many times what they actually paid out in tax credits, what they've gotten back in state, local taxes, jobs, income taxes, all of those different factors that weigh into revenues that come into government because the projects that were built after the cleanup was done and somebody was reimbursed, some developer was reimbursed.
And the site is now clean,
That's right.
and there's public access to the river, which did not exist before.
Exactly.
Do you get any help from the environmentalists on this issue? Because this is all stuff that's seeping into the river.
Different groups do help. I think they recognize it also. Certainly the New York League of Conservation Voters has been very supportive of what we're doing in this respect. And that's good. Because they're a pure environmental group. They have no other agenda. Some of the other groups have agendas. They know their agenda is environmental cleanup, environmental protection. And they recognize that the brownfields program really is a beneficial one. And in the end, it does allow cities like ours and many of the other old industrial cities to rebuild and kind of bring back the economy that they've lost like we had for so many years. All right, if there are no other questions on the Collins resolution, can I have a motion to approve? Motion made by Marty, seconded by Pete. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Carried. All right, this next one is a sublease for St. Joseph's Hospital.
There, I can handle that. Peter Bassano's here from Bleakley Platt. Answer any questions you may have. This basically is just a consent by the IDA for a sublease in St. Joseph's. We, as the record owner of the property, have the right to consent or not consent. The hospital, St. Joseph's, is taking a losing tenant into a profitable tenant. It doesn't affect anything with regard to our status. If there's any specific questions, the property involved is 2,700 square feet of space. And Peter's here to answer any questions. I would recommend the board consent to that sublease.
Before you, I just want to, I'm going to have to recuse myself from a member of the St. Joseph's board, but I just want to make a comment that this is very important for the future viability of the hospital and the medical center because they have some financial issues up there. This is one tactic they're taking to resolve some of those issues, but I'm going to recuse myself.
I too. I will.
All right, let the record show that both Cecile